Hello everyone, we are Valentina Valderrama, Santiago Candil, Santiago Luque, and Duan Corredor. This is The Art of War, Chapter 7, Maneuvering. The space for maneuver can be considered as an organizational environment where you work under leadership with a range of formal mandate, with legitimacy to make decisions and act with this authority and experience. The top leadership acts by making choices, and these choices are made by anticipating the consequences of alternative actions and choosing actions that will be judged to lead favorable outcomes, and we're in an organizational context that make conditions favorable to acting in the task. So this space for maneuvering is based on reasonable actions, taking into account the limitations that are present, the demands, what is required to achieve the favorable result. In this aspect, acting by making choices is usually associated with an agency where the top of leadership has the ability to remember the past, imagine the future, and respond to present circumstances, demands, and constraints that are associated with organizational structures. So for the leaders in organizations, such as those who lead a large army, need to make use of that space of maneuver in order to adapt their team and control the results of certain steps that are followed in execution of tasks and improve the performance. So next you will see a series of steps that will allow you to achieve success in war, taking advantage of opportunities and obstacles.
Now we're going to explain the steps of the maneuvering tactic applied to leadership. Step number 2. Having collected an army and concentrated his forces, he must blend and harmonize the different elements thereof before pitching his camp. This can refer to a leader splitting his or her team members into different areas based on the skills of each member. Step number 3. After that comes tactical maneuvering, than which there is nothing more difficult. The difficulty of tactical maneuvering consists in turning the devious into direct and misfortune into gain. This can be applied to a leader's ability of turning a bad situation into an opportunity, or turning one of his team's member weaknesses into a strength. Step number 7. Thus, if you order your men to roll up their buff coats and make forced marches without halting day or night, covering double the usual distance at a stretch, doing 100 li in order to wrest an advantage, the leaders of all your 3 divisions will fall into the hands of the enemy. Here we can see a clear example of what could happen if a leader doesn't take care of his team members, and instead of that decides to apply labor exploitation. Step number 11. We may take it then that an army without its baggage train is lost, without provisions it is lost, without bases of supply it is lost. A leader must provide his team with resources so they will be able to perform appropriately. Step number 13. We are not fit to lead an army on the march unless we're familiar with the face of the country, its mountains and forests, its pitfalls and precipices, its marshes and swamps. A leader must test the waters of every situation first. Thus, he as well as his team members will face less risky situations than the expected amount. Step number 16. Whether to concentrate or to divide your troops, must be decided by circumstances. This can refer to a leader's ability to make decisions under any kind of circumstances. He must be able to analyze the situation, adapt to it, and make a decision based on this analysis.
Continuing with the analogy and involving the term of maneuvering in leadership, in numeral 19 we could understand that when a leader carries out the plan, he must do so sure of himself and be forceful in the objective he wants to achieve. In the note, they give us to understand the importance of sharing the rewards of a well-done task, in addition to the emotional importance of receiving a reward for the effort on a person. Number we have the importance of careful planning, which important movement that it is going to be carried out, since a leader must be aware that his decision will directly or indirectly influence other people or organizations. Therefore, he must take this in the committed and responsible way. The number 5, it translates into the group mentality. If the leader is able to possibly affect the people around him, a reaction will be generated and more people will take the positive attitude that the leader tries to influence them. In this way, group benefits such as efficiency or higher success rate will be positively affected. In the 7, he warns us that even the mentally strongest leader can be affected by external situations that are considered comfortable and disturbing, and that not only the leader can lose the positive spirit, it can also happen to the rest of the group. The important thing is that one of the two parts is able to give encouragement so that they are not defeated in time. From the number 29, we can deduce that a skillful leader is able to recognize when he can demand from his work group or when it is a moment of rest and activity in the group. This is also part of recognizing the moods that the group presents. Finally, in the number 6, they tell us how volatile and exaggerate pressure can make a group of people. When a person decided to pressure a group with threats, we could not really consider him a leader, since the leader must be capable of capacities of your group, and according to this, guide you to make the best use of these resources. Finally, we will talk about an example of maneuvering in real life.
Now that we know about maneuvering, can we relate this technique with real life? Well, actually we can. I'm going to show you an example of it. There's a company named Boeing that produces airplanes nowadays. Well, they have always produced airplanes. But before 1965, they were primarily producing military airplanes to the US Air Force. In this year, the US Army made a challenge for the aircraft producers to present some projects, and Boeing lost that challenge. And as the company was primarily focused on military aircraft, then there was the possibility that the Boeing disappeared. But they decided to change from the military industry to the commercial industry. This change was led by the 747 idea, and they started to make this plane, and they released it in just 5 years in 1970. So relating this to the chapter, there are some numbers on the side of the screen that you can see: number 7, number 30, and number 32. The first one made the reference to have the ability to keep lights on, and we can see this because the will of the company was never to die. They always search for the way to keep going on the market. The other refers to the discipline and calm you need to have in these difficult situations. Actually, they designed their most iconic airplane during this crisis, so they had an equilibrium between their personal clashes and their emotional vitality that let them design this. And the third one is the study of circumstances, and we can see this because they decided to change from one industry to another, and it is never an easy change. So this is the example that we brought to you today.